Good afternoon. Welcome to the October 12th Santa Rosa City Council meeting. Madam City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Tibbetts. Councilmember Schwedhelm.
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Present.
Vice Mayor Rogers.
Present.
Mayor Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember Tibbetts, have you joined us? Okay, let the record show that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Tibbetts.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll start the day in closed session with item 2.1. Madam Deputy City Clerk, can you please check to see if there are any hands on Zoom for public comment on that item?
Mayor, there are no hands raised in Zoom, and we received no written public comment on this item.
All right, and I don't see anybody in the chamber who is here to give comment as well. So we'll go ahead and recess into closed session, and we'll be back when we start our study session.
Councilmember Sawyer, please be sure to join the closed session credentials.
I thought I had just done that.
Mic test for closed captioner. Test, test, test. Hi, Pablo and Alejandro. I'm going to go ahead and start the Spanish channel and get you into place. Alejandro, I'm going to put you into the Spanish channel first. Can we first of all do a quick mic check with Alejandro and Pablo?
Well, Dina, this is Pablo Rodas.
Hola,
Ready to
es
go.
Alejandro Rubio, mucho gusto.
Thank you both. Alejandro, can you please make a brief statement from the Spanish channel to confirm the audio is working from that station? Perfect. Thank you, Alejandro. Nothing like a little panic. For those of you just joining the meeting via Zoom, live translation is available, and members of the public wishing to listen in Spanish can join the Spanish channel by clicking on the Zoom toolbar icon that looks like a globe. Once you join the Spanish channel, we recommend you shut off the main audio so you only hear the Spanish translation. Pablo, can you please restate this in Spanish?
Of course. Para los recién unidos a la reunión, interpretación en vivo al español está disponible y los miembros que deseen escuchar en español pueden unirse al canal. Para unirse, haga clic en el icono de interpretación en la barra de herramientas de Zoom. Parece un globo terráqueo. Una vez se una al canal de español, se recomienda que apague el audio primario para que solo escuche la interpretación al español.
Thank you, Pablo.
Dina, are you available for a sound check?
Hi, Councilmember. You came in loud and clear.
Excellent. Got through this time. I realized, I believe that I did not leave the last time, and that's why I couldn't get into the closed session. I think that we need to be more aware of the necessity to leave the prior Zoom meeting, and I'll watch that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, Madam City Clerk, let's resume the council meeting. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Tibbetts?
Here?
Councilmember Schwedhelm?
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Present.
Vice Mayor Rogers? Mayor Rogers?
Here.
Let the record show that all council members are present with the exception of Vice Mayor Rogers.
Great. We'll go on to item 3.1. Oh, we're missing our city attorney.
Well, I can start the item in her absence.
Yep, if you please would.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Today's study session is on the redistricting process for the decennial review of council member district boundaries. By state law, cities with district-based elections are required to review the boundaries of the council districts every 10 years upon receipt of the federal census data to ensure compliance with the U.S. Constitution, federal and state laws. And although Santa Rosa just transitioned to district elections in 2018, those districts were based on the 2010 census data. The city clerk, with the help of the city attorney's office, conducted a solicitation for proposals for demographers, and the city has contracted with Redistricting Partners to help Santa Rosa through the redistricting process. Today we have Elizabeth Stitt from the Redistricting Managers with Redistricting Partners, who will outline the procedural steps required for the review of existing district boundaries, the standards applicable to the review, and to set forth the timeline for completion of that process. At today's study session, the council may receive the information, ask questions, discuss, and provide direction to staff. However, no formal action will be taken. And with that, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Stitt, Redistricting Manager with Redistricting Partners, who will provide the presentation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. This is obviously an incredibly important aspect of our democracy. And like she said, even though you went through the process only in 2018, we're now basing all of this, all of our districts off of the 2020 data. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So a little bit about Redistricting Partners. We're a firm that has been around for over 10 years now. We focus on redistricting, demographics, voting rights act analyses, and our services to the city of Santa Rosa includes educating the public on redistricting at outreach meetings, generating draft maps based off of this public input, and we'll be getting you at least 3 draft maps for you to examine and base districts off of those. We'll also be training staff on the redistricting process and best practices. We'll analyze qualitative and quantitative data, including drawing up memos for you all on the current census data. And then finally, we'll be submitting the district map to the county on your behalf. Let's go to the next slide, please. So redistricting, what is it? To put it simply, it's basically just rebalancing the districts so that each district has equal population. So at its core, it's an act of equalizing population among districts. This is particularly important in order to meet 2 requirements, one constitutional and one that is Supreme Court precedent. So you have equal representation, it's the 14th Amendment, how effective any resident can be at advocating for themselves. And in practical terms, this speaks to how effective any resident can be advocating for themselves or being represented within the city. So the act of balancing the population among the census allows for every resident to be able to advocate equally for their needs. So anything like the need for a new stop sign or road repairs, this allows everyone to have the same equal voice. In one extreme that we've worked with, I think this was about 10 years ago, we redistricted an agency that hadn't redrawn their lines since 1950. So one district had about 12,000 people, and then the other district had 100,000 people. So needless to say, the folks in the 100,000 population had a little bit more difficulty reaching their elected officials. So that's why we redraw and rebalance districts to ensure that everyone has equal voice and equal access to their elected officials. And then, of course, one person, one vote. This is Supreme Court precedent. This is equal ability to elect a candidate of choice. So this is the one person, one vote principle, and effectively measures the equal ability to elect a candidate in the same, and in that same example of the 100,000 people versus 12,000 people, you probably don't have 100,000 registered voters in that district, but we could probably guess there might be 70,000 registered voters in one big district and then 10,000 registered in a small one. So then you would have 7-to-1 inequality to people's voting power. So again, we're just rebalancing power of voice and election abilities. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So another way redistricting has been transformed over the last 10 years has really happened in the public eye. So we've had changes in the federal and state laws with the addition of the Fair Maps Act in California and the California Voting Rights Act. We've had the establishment of best practices, and public opinion, like I said, has transformed. So the public is becoming more and more involved in redistricting, understandably so. And here we have a study that said 97% of voters agreed that local government should be required to have transparent and open redistricting. And on top of the public interest, we also have an increase in media interest. So more and more newspapers, more television are covering these outreach efforts and hearings. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the Voting Rights Act, because this is a very critical part of redistricting. So the federal voting rights law seeks to remedy racial disenfranchisement. It has two sections that impact redistricting. So the first one is Section 2. This is a majority minority district. So essentially how we can help tell if there is need for a majority district or a majority minority district is if the citizen voting age population is about 50% of one racial subset or more. That's just the first step in finding it out. And then there's Section 5, which essentially has been deemed inactive by the Supreme Court over the last 10 years. So previously, there were certain counties and states that had to get pre-clearance from the federal government to enact their maps. This is no longer the case, but I don't believe Santa Rosa was ever under that pre-clearance anyway. And then, of course, there is the California Voting Rights Act. This prohibits the use of at-large election systems in local government if there is proof of racially polarized voting. However, this does not apply to Santa Rosa. We've already districted in 2018, so no longer applies to this city. Next slide, please. So then there are traditional redistricting principles. This is what we use to help guide us draw the line. So these are here to prevent gerrymanders. It's here to keep everything above board and transparent. So these have been established and used throughout the country and have been upheld in Supreme Court cases as well. So this list here, it's a ranked list of criteria according to the Fair Maps Act. The very first one is each district has to be equal in population. So we're talking about the US Census data. That includes everyone. So it's not just citizens, it's not just voters, but it is the US Census data that we're basing it off of. Next, each district has to be contiguous. So what that basically means is you can draw the district with one line. It's one whole piece. Next, we want to maintain communities of interest. And communities of interest can be a little difficult to grasp at times. A definition of it is it's a group of people, a neighborhood, a community with similar policy concerns and would benefit from being maintained in one single district. And we'll be doing outreach hearings to gather information from the public on their communities of interest. Next, we want to follow city and census designated place boundaries when practicable. And then finally, keep districts compact in appearance and function. So we don't want to bypass a nearby population for one that's distant. Next slide, please. And then, of course, there's the new Fair Maps Act. So this is the first time agencies in the state are using or are following the Fair Maps Act. It was passed and enacted in 2019. So there are some additional transparency measures here that the city will have to follow. This includes we can't consider incumbents or candidates when drawing the maps, not draw districts to advantage or disadvantage political parties. So again, these are here to prevent gerrymanders, incumbent and partisan gerrymandering. We have to hold a minimum set of hearings and encourage public participation. So there needs to be at least 4 hearings on the maps, or excuse me, there needs to be 4 hearings on the process. 2 need to be included regarding the maps themselves. And then next, posting all redistricting commission information on a website that's maintained for the next 10 years. So theoretically, this video will be on that website, so we can all wave hello to our future selves in 10 years. But also it's gonna have things like the agenda for people to follow. It'll have maps for people to view when the maps are available. And it'll allow people to submit their own testimony as well. So the Fair Maps Act is really a tool to get people more involved in the process. Next slide, please. And so real quickly, here is the timeline for the next, few months till April. So April 17th is the deadline for the city to get their map in. Today, obviously, is October 12th. It is the first study session. And then the first public hearing, official public hearing, will be December 7th. And then you'll get a couple months break from us. And then we'll have a community outreach meeting specifically so we can gather data and information from the public, which will help drive our maps. And then the next meeting will be January 25th. This is going to be a map meeting. So you'll have draft maps by then and be able to assess the maps, give us feedback. And then the next meeting, March 1st, will be a revision of those maps. And then March 29th, final passage. If there is additional need to edit those maps, we have given you all some wiggle room. So April 12th would be the last day to pass those maps before the deadline. So next slide. So let's just talk real quickly about the current census data. Next slide. So this information is based off of the census data that we will be using to draw the lines. So as you all know, the census data was very late this year due to COVID-19. So we got the final version from the statewide database only a few weeks ago. So this includes the prisoner reallocation data. This is the data that we have to use under the Fair Maps Act. And as you can see, there has been some pretty substantial changes over the last, 10 years. And just a reminder, the 2018 districting was based off of the 2010 data. So that's why we're comparing those two. If you look at District 1, it grew by almost 5%. District 2 grew by 5.3%. District 3 grew by 3.6%. District 4 was the only district to lose population, and it lost 10.2%. District 5 grew by 1.5%, 6 grew by 1%, and District 7 grew by 7.2%. So let's go on to the next slide. So here, this shows you the demographics, but I particularly want to show you the deviations. And this is important because by law, we have to have a deviation of under 10%. And if you see, I'm going to stare into my screen. It's 7.7% is the largest deviation. And then it's about 12.9% is this lowest one. Thank you. So taking the absolute value of that, it's about 20%. So we are going to have to see some changes in the lines, even if, all things equal. So we're looking at growing District 4 and shrinking District 2. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So let's go through each district. As you can see here, District 1, this has a Latino CVAP of about 36%. I believe this is the highest Latino CVAP, which doesn't ring any VRA Section 2 alarms. It's under 50%, but it is something that we should be paying attention to. Go ahead. And it looks like the deviation is just under the ideal population. So this one would not necessarily have to change very much, but it also depends on the community input. So go ahead and go to the next slide. And then here, this one, I believe, is the largest one. So the deviation is 7.2. We'll likely have to shrink District 2 as well. Go to the next slide. Here is District 3. This deviation is also rather large. It's 4.9. Go to the next slide. And then this one is District 4. This is the deviation, or this is the most underpopulated district. So this will likely have to grow in some fashion to pick up population. And go to the next slide. And then this one's also slightly underpopulated. And next slide. And this one is about equal in population. So yeah, it has a deviation of 0.1%. And go ahead and go to the next slide. And then finally, here's the last district. Deviation is about 3%, so might have to shrink. But again, because under the Fair Maps Act, it places such an emphasis on community outreach and community input, we might see some changes to the lines that go beyond equalization of the population. And next slide, I think that's the last one. Great, I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any input or feedback.
All right, council members, I'll start with John.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I'm curious. You mentioned that there would be 3 maps submitted to the council. Will those maps be accompanied by a basic recommendation and with explanation, or are we is that as far as you will be going as far as presenting 3 maps after getting all the community input, et cetera? Will there be any recommendation included in that?
That's a good question. We try not to tell you what to do. We base all of our maps off of objective data. So we base it off of the census, we base it off of community input, and we try not to put our spin on it. We obviously follow all VRA, FMA law requirements, but we will draw maps based on your direction. So if you tell us to draw maps where we, focus on including all of the community input and don't even look at the current district lines, we'll do that. Or you can, usually what we'll do is we'll draw a map that essentially rebalances the lines. So that's one direction you can give us 2, but really we work off of the direction that you tell us to go into.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yeah, my question is around the deviations and if it has to do with the overall population of a given district or the voting age population of the given district.
It's overall.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's interesting about Santa Rosa is, I think probably particularly with probably our youngest district, District 1, but we have a very elderly district. So we're going to have districts that have a much higher proportion of voting age persons. And I'm just curious if the law takes that into account in any way.
No. So the Supreme Court has basically cemented that we just look at the U.S. Census data, and that's what we base the equal population off of. It would be interesting. I think it's worth debating how you want to consider the overall deviation, because you do have a 10% buffer. So if you want to make one district a little bit larger because you're accounting for younger people, that might be doable, under the age of 18. But it is up to you guys and what you direct us on what to do.
Thank you, that's helpful.
So one of the comments that I'll make, one of the questions that I sort of have, I think part of the deviation that you see for District 4, and we've talked about this a number of times, is that that was an area that was particularly heavy hit by the 2017 wildfires. Yeah. And when we drew the maps in 2018, Coffee Park and Fountain Grove were still using data that was based on who was there in 2010 when the census happened. Mm-hmm. Now, as I understand it, this census data, if somebody has not yet rebuilt their home, they are not reflected in the population here. Is that correct?
That's right, and that's a really good point. Essentially, this is just a snapshot of the population on April 1st, 2020. So if there was not, if the district did not repopulate since the fire, then that's right. It would be smaller because of that.
It might just be worth council keeping that in the back of their mind as we draw the districts, that perhaps it's okay for that district to be a little bit on the smaller side via deviation, because we know that it's likely to grow as people rebuild their homes.
And if I may, Mayor, to that point, on April 1 of 2020, there's going to be a fewer amount of repopulation than we'll have at this point in time, or even at the point in time when we draw the districts. But unfortunately, we won't have that data at hand.
Well, and certainly I'd like to think with the council's commitment on rebuild, it'll also be substantially more people will have repopulated by 2030, which these maps go to as well. I'm just thinking of, with the county talking about the equity and workload conversation as well around their districting, that it's something for us to keep in mind that there's going to be at least one council member who represents an area that we know for sure is going to grow substantially, I would think, from the rebuild. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You made the comment of District 1 foreseeing minimal changes. Could you elaborate on what you envision or the group has envisioned, as well as scenarios that have been contemplated?
Well, nothing's been contemplated yet. I think we definitely need to have outreach hearings first, get community input. I would basically, if all things equal, it had a deviation, I believe, of about negative 0.1. So that, I think, was the closest to the ideal population. So if the community outreach comes back to us saying, District 1 includes all of the communities and doesn't need to change much, then that seems to be an ideal size for a district.
Thank you.
I think the last comment that I'll make, and then we'll open it up for public comment. Last time we had public maps that were submitted, and we were able to go through those. And my understanding is we'll be able to do that again. And at the last minute, one of the determinants that the council really used was the idea that we thought 3 districts should touch downtown. So if I remember correctly, we took a map and then amended it in a couple of ways. I know Ridgeway was taken away from District 4 and put in District 5, and I think District 2 was brought over to touch downtown, and I don't think that it did originally. It'd be nice to hear from the public if they still consider that to be a guiding factor, and whether council still sees that as needed now that we've experienced it for a couple of years, and whether that should be one of the criteria that we ask for maps as they're being developed. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. If you have a comment on this study session, go ahead and hit the raise hand feature on your Zoom. I'm not seeing anybody head towards the microphone here in the chamber. I don't see any hands on Zoom. So let's go ahead and go to our pre-recorded voicemail.
Item 3.1, redistricting. Dwayne DeWitt from Roseland. There are many who live in the Roseland district who are concerned that there's not that open, transparent, and accountable approach to this redistricting effort that's beginning and is probably already halfway through. The outreach here in our community has been very sparse. You spend millions of dollars on a community engagement department you started up, and yet they don't talk to a lot of people. It's very problematic to many long-term Roseland residents who feel that they're not going to get the representation they thought would come with districts and now redistricting. Please, we need in-person outreach, authentic community engagement to the residents of Roseland, many of whom are disadvantaged and underserved and may not be on the internet like you folks. It would be really nice to see some city staff over here helping on this effort. Perhaps you could use the community center that's still owned by the taxpayers with the county operating it for a COVID vaccination site. There's plenty of space and there's opportunities now for people to be meeting and greeting each other in person. Please help us in Roseland get better representation with a better redistricting effort. Thank you.
All right, I'll bring it back. Are there any last comments from council?
You know, I do have one last comment, Mayor, which is around the workload and just keeping in mind the suburban versus urban districts. I do think that I'm not sure from your perspective, but that it creates a higher level of work when you have multiple cultural heritage board districts clustered together, and that may be a consideration to look into as well.
Great, thank you. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. We'll be seeing you. I think you said that our second meeting, I believe, is in December. And so we look forward to having that conversation at that point.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Mr. City Manager, let's go on to our next study session, 3.2.
Mayor Rogers and members of the City Council, item 3.2 is our second study session item of the afternoon. The matter before the council is the Sonoma County Transit Integration and Efficiency Study, the Future of Transit Process. Rachel Eade, our Deputy Director of Transit, Yuri Colson, our Transit Planner, Matt Wilcox, another Transit Planner, Suzanne Smith and Dana Turi from SCTA, Brian Albee from Sonoma County Transit, and Jared Hall from Petaluma Transit will be joining us today as co-presenters.
All right, thank you so much. I'm getting a bit of an echo here. I hope you're hearing it okay on your end. I'll just go forward and hopefully it'll resolve. So good afternoon, Mayor Rogers and members of the council. We're pleased to be here today to present the study session on the Transit Integration and Efficiency Study and the Future of Transit Process. As befits a collaborative effort, we have, as the city manager indicated, several people on the panel here today. Yuri Coslin and Matt Wilcox, City of Santa Rosa Transit Planners, will be giving most of this presentation as they are the lead city staff on this initiative. We're also joined by Suzanne Smith and Dana Ture of SCTA. SCTA has a really key role in this effort at both the board and staff levels, as will be discussed. And finally, I'm very appreciative that my counterparts at Sonoma County Transit and Petaluma Transit are joining us today. Brian Albee is Transit Manager for the County of Sonoma, and Jared Hall is Transit Manager for the City of Petaluma.
Rachel, can we take a brief moment of getting some feedback? I'm not sure what is happening here in council chamber, but it's quite distracting.
It's very distracting for me too, so that's fine.
We'll take a 2-minute recess and we'll come back.
Rachel, are you and Yuri in the same room or near each other?
No, we're all in different rooms.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, all right, team looks into it. We're going to go ahead and take a full recess.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. Any echo?
Mic check. Everything sounds okay there.
Rachel, can we have you do a brief sound check?
Sure. Check, check. Check. How does this sound now? Sounds okay on my end.
That sounds okay so far on our end. Yuri, can you please do a mic check?
Mic check, Yuri here.
Thank you.
Hello?
Matt, can you do a mic check?
Here as well. The echo.
Thank you. Suzanne, can you do a mic check with us, please?
Mic check, test, test.
Thank you. And Dana, can you also do a mic check?
Testing.
Thank you.
1, 2.
Thank you. And Brian, how about you? Can you do a quick mic check with us?
Sure. Testing. 1, 2.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's resume the meeting then. Let's go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Tibbetts? Councilmember Schwedhelm?
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Present.
Vice Mayor Rogers? Mayor Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Tibbetts, have you joined us? Okay, let the record show that all council members are present with the exception of Vice Mayor Rogers and Councilmember Tibbetts.
All right. Have at it, Rachel.
Okay, take two. This sounds much better. I was afraid I was going to have to do that the whole time, and that was going to be rough. So thank you guys for resolving that. So I just wanted to just reiterate quick introductions just because I'm not sure they were actually audible at all the last time. We're pleased to be here for this study session, and we do have a number of people with us on the panel today because this is a very collaborative effort we're working on. Introducing Yuri Coslin and Matt Wilcox, our transit planners who are lead staff on the future of transit process from the city. Suzanne Smith and Dana Ture are here from SCTA. SCTA has a very key role in this process, both at the board and staff levels. So we're happy to have them join us today. And then Brian Albee is the transit manager for the County of Sonoma. Jared Hall is the transit manager for the city of Petaluma. And we're all working together very closely on this process. So I'm grateful to all of them for joining us today. Next slide, please. In terms of the agenda for this study session, we'll begin by providing some background and context for the current transit integration effort. A lot of what we're working on has been discussed for a number of years, and we've gotten some real traction and acceleration around it in the last year and a half. We'll next go into some detail on our current and planned future integration activities under the auspices of the SCTA Future of Transit Ad Hoc. Mayor Rogers is chair of that ad hoc of the SCTA board. We'll also provide some regional context and discuss how our efforts here in Sonoma County relate to the MTC's Blue Ribbon Transit Recovery Task Force process and the recently published Transit Transformation Action Plan that was a response to the pandemic, looking at how we can build back a more integrated regional transit network. And finally, we'll discuss some of the next steps, including some items that we'll be bringing to council in the next few months for action to continue to forward our work on this process. And of course, we'll be happy to answer any questions at that time. And we're looking forward to council's feedback on this overall initiative, your priorities, et cetera. Next slide, please. So to begin with some really high level context, as you know, there are 5 primary transit operators making up the local, intercity, and regional transit network in Sonoma County. The 3 local bus transit systems, City Bus, Sonoma County Transit, and Petaluma Transit, as well as SMART and Golden Gate to provide the regional connections. So it's become very clear that to achieve our shared city and county goals around climate action, transit-oriented development, housing, and affordability, we really need to do everything we can to strengthen and rebuild our transit network and make it as user-friendly, convenient, and accessible as possible, while also ensuring that we're providing the highest quality transit services we can to the public within our limited resources. So the Future of Transit effort is about working on building integration in several functional areas among the 3 different transit operators, the local bus systems initially, so we can present a more customer-focused, convenient, understandable, and ultimately unified countywide transit system for our current riders and future riders. And I'll just note, we're at a really unique moment now, building back after the pandemic. There's a lot of energy around this in the region, about building back a more integrated transit network. And Sonoma County is really seen as leading on this. We're ahead of the rest of the region and really tackling some of these challenging issues to create a better local transit network. And as I mentioned, I do want to be clear, what we're talking about today is focused on the local bus transit system, Sonoma County Transit, City Bus, Petaluma Transit as a starting point. But a lot of what we're working on will ultimately relate to how we integrate with the regional services. And in addition, we'll all be working together on these regional integration initiatives coming out of MTC over the next few years. Next slide, please. And here I'll pass it off to Matt Wilcox to continue with some background in terms of how we got here, and he and Yuri will continue on with further detail on the process.
Hello, everyone. Happy to present on this subject. As you know, as a planner, this is a very exciting process for us in our line of work. To give you some background of how we got to the point that we are today, as we present to you, in 2012, MTC put forth the Transit Sustainability Project, and this was in response to the 08 through 2010 recession. The intent of the project was to improve the financial situation for the transit agencies, improve customer service, and attract new riders to the transit systems throughout the Bay Area. The actual study was actually mentioned in a transit cooperative research program document, which is a national institution that looks through different aspects of how transit operates and does case studies on different transit agencies, and also provides advice on how to go about the transit planning process. So it's kind of a big deal in regards to how integration has been a hot topic in the Bay Area. Specifically in the document, it called for integration of the Sonoma County operators in working together to either integrate service, integrate fares, and also just a general sense of coordination between the agencies that operate within Sonoma County. And then moving forward to 2019, the Transit Integration Efficiency Study was completed by SCTA. It was a very major lift by the staff that is on this call to get that going, hiring consultants and working between the agencies to better understand what can be done to coordinate services in Sonoma County. As you also may remember, Council actually provided general fund money to complete this study, and the results helped the transit agency kind of figure out where do we head to increase coordination and integration. And this acts as the foundation for what we're about to talk about here today, and also just how we move forward through integration and coordination between the agencies. So some of the main goals were to improve the rider experience in Sonoma County, increase the efficiency in delivering high quality public transit service, and reducing operating capital across to improve the service further. And now, the present day, so to speak, 2020, 2021, we're still in the pandemic. One of the responses to the pandemic from NTC standpoint was to create a Blue Ribbon Task Force. And the intent was to rethink transit service and create a set of goals that would result in making simple and consistent, equitable fares, integrating customer information, and enabling a unified and efficient transit network. And this was all kind of rolled into with also a planning ad hoc who's working separately, but also on different coordination pieces. So going to the next slide, we get a little more detail about the Blue Ribbon Task Force. So the Blue Ribbon Task Force created a problem statement that they wish to address. There being and I know there's 27 unique agencies in the Bay Area that provide public transit, whose procedures and practices are not necessarily consistent, nor do they align, and they also serve many local priorities as opposed to regional priorities. It is not organized to support customers in a very friendly way, although obviously there's information available, but it does make it more difficult as people move to the Bay Area. It is not sometimes easy to understand. So there's, on this slide, there's individual pieces, so you'll have to keep clicking, unfortunately. Got too fancy. So one of the things that came out of this was transformational outcomes. And one of those transformational outcomes was fare payments, essentially making them simpler, consistent, and equitable as someone travels across the Bay Area. And the hope is that it would attract more riders if this part of the transit experience was simplified. Next. Customer information is also a big part of what the task force set out to achieve. improving that with integrated mapping and signage, real-time schedule information, whether that's at stops or through mobile devices, and just making it convenient and easy to access for new and existing riders. The transit network is also obviously a key part of the process in providing public transit. It's where the rubber meets the road. So making sure that services are coordinated, whether that's transfers or making sure that service isn't duplicative. And if it is a major corridor, that those routes run in a way that can actually increase the frequency for buses going down those corridors. Obviously, accessibility is also a major part of what public transit hopes to provide, ensuring that all people of ages and abilities can easily access transit, whether that's through the fixed route or through ADA paratransit. And then also ensuring that this doesn't exclude not necessarily people based on ability, but also income, as they hope to access transit and are often some of the people that use transit the most. And finally, part of what they set out to do was provide funding or allocate funding to help the Bay Area transit agencies do what they need to do to increase their ability to coordinate and consolidate where it was possible. And SCTA went to bat for the agencies, so to speak, at the Blue Ribbon Task Force in work to get funds allocated specifically to our integration efforts. I should also note that Supervisor Rabbit is Sonoma County representative for the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Next slide, please. And so kind of in tandem with the Blue Ribbon Task Force that began earlier in 2020, SCTA convened its own transit ad hoc group. This was in October 2020. The current membership is made up of local representatives from the jurisdictions in the county, including our own mayor, Chris Rogers, who is the chair, Susan Gorin from Sonoma County, David Rabbit from Sonoma County, Sarah Gurney from the city of Sebastopol, and Delinda Fisher from the city of Petaluma. So this group actually meets monthly to discuss the process of moving forward with the integration. Priorities came out of the TIES study, which I spoke about a few slides ago, and coordinating based off of what the Blue Ribbon Task Force has actually put forth too. So as you can see, there's a lot of interplay between local efforts and regional efforts and a lot of similar goals that each of those have set out. And one of the ad hoc specific goals is to increase transit ridership as a mechanism to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve access to low-cost transportation, and reduce congestion. So that's very much in line with Council's goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and ultimately want to simplify the transit customer experience. And we want to also obviously maximize our resources and be efficient as possible as we do expand service and change our frequencies. Next slide, please. This is just to provide some background on the level of service that the three operators in Sonoma County, three fixed route operators that operate solely in Sonoma County, I should say, provide in regards to the level of service and the number of trips that they provide. So this information is from the last fiscal year that we have that wasn't affected by the pandemic. These numbers are from the National Transit Database. Cumulatively, the three agencies serve about 3.1 million, headed towards 3.2 million riders. This is fixed route and ADA paratransit. And the combined revenue hours are about 260,000. To give some perspective, Golden Gate Transit, which serves Sonoma County, Marin, San Francisco, Oakland, and I believe all the way to Richmond, pretty large service area with very high densities. They have a similar level of ridership as we do as a collective agencies. So we're pulling pretty heavy loads for a suburban rural county. Next slide, please. So this is how we plan to proceed with this integration process. We have it chunked up into three different parts. One, first is to strategize, which is where we are now, headed into the planning phase. And finally, the implementation phase. So this is about a 3 to 4 year process. It'll take a little time for us to work through these things depending on how, where we are in the pandemic and how we can be able to interact with the public. Interacting with the public is a big component of the planning phase. and understanding that between the three agencies, what does the public hope to see? What makes life easier for them? As that's the ultimate goal for this process, is to provide a better customer experience on public transit. And then implementation, it won't probably be like you flip a switch and overnight and there's new transit in Sonoma County. It will also be a process once we decide and determine what the public wants us to do and what we can do financially. And parts of those things will include integration with MTC, transit regional and wayfinding, implementing a shared branding process with look and feel of our buses and the information that we put out there. So we are, like I said, we're currently in strategizing, and we're kind of hopefully moving into the direction of planning very shortly. Next slide, please. So before I hand it off to Yuri, to kind of give you a sense of how we've chunked up this planning process and the goals that we hope to achieve in the line item tasks, we've siloed things into 4 integration objectives. One being service planning. So short answer or short definition of that is, the buses on the road and how we integrate customer service, making sure that when people contact the agencies, they get the same information. Fares, making those equal, and then finally public information and marketing, making sure that we're bringing people onto the buses, letting them know what's changing and when, so everyone's expectations are aligned. And with that, I'll hand it over to Yuri, and he'll go into some of the details in regards to each of these integration objectives.
Thank you, Matt. Mayor, Council, great to be with you today. We can go ahead one more slide. There we go. Okay, I am going to go through at a detailed level the actions we are taking within each objective as part of this future of transit in Sonoma County. So developing and adopting shared planning models has already started with reviewing policies, definitions, performance data, and existing benchmarks. Ultimately, service will be better with an integrated service planning model. These steps will help us get there, starting with the deep dive into analyzing the 3 systems line by line and ensuring that our data is harmonized. This data harmonization will be achieved through further analysis and familiarity with ridership data, which is collected using our automatic passenger counters, or APCs, which are electronic devices on transit vehicles, which record each passenger using invisible light beams, and it's recorded each time a passenger boards or alights at a stop, collecting the time and location of the day of the boarding or alighting. Additionally, understanding the data will allow staff and or a consultant to analyze the overlapping service area and investigate how to better approach transfers and connections. All of the above service planning focuses on fixed route, but we also want to improve paratransit coordination. So paratransit is critical for transit, serving people living with disabilities, and is also required by the Federal Civil Rights Act and Americans Disabilities Act of 1990. So paratransit service covers a minimum of 3/4 of a mile of area from the fixed route line. So we feel that the next needed improvement in paratransit is to standardize the paratransit eligibility process in the county. At this time, each of the 3 agencies has its own process and forms. Each is very similar, but trying to identify a procedure that we all share will benefit those living with disabilities in terms of accessing paratransit services. Next slide. So this is an example of service planning that we're contemplating at the line by line area. Mendocino corridor, as we all know, is one of the busiest corridors in the county. In 2017, the city's reimagining took multiple city bus routes on Mendocino and combined them into one route, the city bus route 1 that you see there, which operates on a 15-minute frequency. Additionally, Sonoma County Transit has most of its routes also operate on Mendocino Avenue. Sonoma County is working to meet the needs of riders traveling in from the county or trying to reach the county center. For the county's Route 60 that serves Cloverdale, Healdsburg, and Windsor, The county center is on its way downtown, but the other routes that serve the transit mall, all the other routes serve the transit mall, and then they travel north to the county center. So just to pose the question that we've all thought about, which is, does the fact that some of the county admin will be moving downtown, or that the county center site will be redeveloped, have any impact on the transit service on Mendocino Avenue? And we think it does, and that's what part of what we hope to look at in greater detail. We know that Mendocino Avenue demands significant transit services. It's important that the services are coordinated from the public perception standpoint. And I will say, in the city's phase 2 of reimagining, I mean, the city imagined even an increase in frequency on Mendocino Avenue, up to 10-minute frequency on Mendocino Avenue. So again, these are the line-by-line analysis that we hope to address through the service planning objectives within the future of transit discussion. Next slide. So here we're looking at, this objective is around looking at fares, around how to harmonize the fares. We look to develop uniform fare policy, media, structures, and develop a universal pass, universal transit pass. So policy being things like who qualifies for what at what age, and media types being, month pass or ride book, or for that matter, a universal pass that would allow riders to ride any system in the county with only paying once. And the structure being, what are the different options? What are the different media type options? And then what other incentives kind of that we're pushing riders where we save money on a certain number of uses. So that's the structure. So then there's also Clipper and adding, whether if you do a universal pass program, adding that onto Clipper. We may also include, some reprogramming of other Clipper media types, as well as developing an online store and printing paper passes. So Clipper, as many of you may know, is the Bay Area system payment for all Bay Area transit operators. Now it is not only available on a card, but it's also available on your phone. There are unique cards under Clipper for adults, youth, seniors, and people living with disabilities. Fare changes that we may contemplate at the county level have a lead time in terms of getting them programmed into Clipper. And in the future, we foresee incentives, creating incentives to use Clipper as part of the fare structure, as this type of media enables passengers to have access throughout the Bay Area to transit. Also in coordination with decisions made related to fare media and structure, that the three agencies are interested in is we'll be reprinting Pride passes with whatever new branding we develop, try to make it possible to buy more than one pass type at the transit mall. So trying to offer all system, each agency's passes at the transit mall. And then online purchasing from like a single website. So right now you go to each individual website to buy a pass, or call each individual agency. So a one-stop solution if for some reason you don't have Clipper. Next slide. So here's kind of a picture of our fares and some of the differences. Those in red are where there are differences. I'll just like to highlight a few of them. We have the adult 31-day pass. You can see the difference in costs on that adult 31-day pass there. We have ticket booklets towards the bottom there. You can see the county offers a 20 pass ticket booklet, whereas the city offers a 10 pass and a 40 pass. So you can see some of the confusion for the public where they're coming in. They may not know what to ask for, and they might be familiar with the county, and then they come to the city and they're having to adjust their expectations. Also for veterans, the city currently has followed the county in terms of allowing veterans to ride for free, but we haven't yet taken the step to enable active duty military to ride free. And then again, with college students, Santa Rosa really only has the JC as a major, college within our city. So we offer it to JC, whereas the county has Sonoma State as well as the JC, and they offer it to all college students. So that's another piece that we look to. These fares we would bring back to council to adjust those once we all are in agreement. Next slide, please. So next objective here. primarily is to simplify and enhance the transit customer experience. This can be further enhanced by all using a single phone number to call in for countywide transit services. Rather than having to know 3 numbers, you just would need to know 1. And then further ensuring that staff on the other end of the phone, or for that matter at the transit mall, have the tools to provide the public accurate information on all the transit operators in the county, including SMART and Golden Gate. And there's also Mendocino operates north. We look to have consistent and integrated bus stop signage, which at this point we have some regional, some of that going on. We have multiple agencies on the same side. But with our new branding, we would look to update that. Transit center signage, real-time information at stops. So no matter which agency you went to, you would see a similar type signage display telling you when the bus is going to arrive. And consistent policies and procedures for public information interaction. So the public is expecting to get the information through a certain source, and they're expecting to get that information for all 3 agencies. And then lastly, the website redesign creates some uniformity and integration. I'll go into that a little bit at the end. So yeah, across the board, our goal will be to improve access to information for the public. Next slide, please. So this is kind of one highlight of where, the information to the public can be made consistent. And this is, you see here, all the different holidays and all the different levels of service that just within 3 agencies we provide. And in red, again, you see those are inconsistencies between our agencies. And we've worked at a regional level with SMART and Golden Gate to kind of map this out. And as Rachel mentioned earlier, we're looking to kind of at the county level get ourselves all onto the same schedule in terms of what holidays we offer and what level of service on those holidays. So we have everybody at the table that needs to be making this decision. So we're working through those discussions, and we'll be bringing something to council at a later date on that matter. Next slide, please. So another objective here is clear communication with riders that requires 2-way communication. Along with analyzing ridership data, engaging and surveying the public is critical to charting a county-wide integrated transit network. Historically, the agencies have individually conducted surveys. City Bus did one in 2018. I believe the other agencies were in that similar time frame. But these were mostly focused internally to each system. A survey that covers county-wide transit connections, this would be a first in Sonoma County. This information is expected to provide insights into many of the objectives identified back in the service planning focus areas, like overlapping service area, time transfers and connections, and line-by-line evaluation, just to name a few. This bullet point regarding marketing and communication and unified branding across 3 agencies will be discussed in greater detail by Matt Wilcox later in the presentation. But as part of as part of a project that MTC is hiring consultants to do, in which that consultant will be designing a brand and wayfinding specifically for Sonoma County in coordination with a regional effort. But our 3 system partnership will need to do the heavy lifting of producing all this collateral, like the maps, the signage at the transit mall, bus stops, fare media, and vehicle appearance, whether it's a wrap or how the vehicles, what the image on the vehicles that is presented that creates some uniformity while possibly identifying uniqueness between the 3 agencies as well. Finally, working to market and highlight the tools. Finally, we're working in marketing. We want to highlight tools like the Clipper mobile app. This works for all 3 agencies, and this is another objective of the Future Transit Initiative, is to highlight these tools that work for all 3 agencies. Next slide, please. So here's another example of public information just to highlight. These are the 3 agencies and our 3 website splash pages, if you will. You can see how different they are, how varied. If you want to go and plan a trip and you're used to working on Sonoma County, but you want to take a trip in Petaluma, you plan your trip is at a different location on their website. And for City Bus, you got to go one level deeper into that left-hand bar to get to your plan of the trip. Or for transit alerts, for instance, you can see there's a little triangle there on Sonoma County for the transit alert. It has similar logo as Petaluma's there, but then the city buses is in red with it. You know, and they can stand out, but we feel like we can do a better job. Here's an example. Next slide, please. Sorry. Here's an example of what was done in the Raleigh, Durham, in the Triangle area in North Carolina, where they worked to have a public-facing branding and integration, where you have 3 agencies, separate operational areas. The Triangle is more the regional, and the Raleigh, Durham are more of this citywide service, but they all have a very similar look and feel while individually being identified. You go to the website, you're going to find the information in a similar location. As a member of the public, you don't have to adjust how you're reading things or where you're going so much as to find the information. It's more intuitive and built for the public to be able to navigate 3 different systems. Next slide, please. So, you know, we have a lot of work to do, but we've also part of the first phase that Matt identified earlier we yielded some good successes. First, we instituted a 1-seat ride pilot that reduces transfers on paratransit, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail here in a minute. We synchronized schedule change dates. So recently in August, all 3 systems and a number throughout the Bay Area also scheduled our system changes, our schedule changes all at the same day in August. So riders can expect, you know, to know when a schedule is going to change and not be kind of used to riding one system and then all of a sudden try to transfer and realize, okay, wait, I'm operating on old information. So we were able to synchronize that. That was a win coming out of the pandemic. Historically, you know, for a long time, we've had a universal base fare of $1.50, which has been a win and kind of has shown some of the historic nature of our agencies working together, but that we want to replicate. During the pandemic, we jointly reinstituted fares. So on February 1st, 2021, coming out of the pandemic, we handled a lot of the kind of the social distancing and fares and reinstituting fares similarly across agencies. So that was a big win. During the pandemic, all operators in Sonoma County instituted a Clipper Start, which is allows eligible low-income adults aged 19 to 64 whose household income is no more than twice the federal poverty level. So, for example, $52,000 for a family of 4. So these riders receive 20% off countywide when using Clipper on a single ride once they're eligible. There's a new phone system for direct transfers. So we basically told our staff, rather than just giving a caller the phone number for Sonoma County, let's just go ahead and transfer them directly to the county. Maybe give them the phone number just in case they just get disconnected. But even before that, try to answer their questions as much as we can and then transfer them. And then we've also cross-trained our staff at all the agencies so that our staff that are down at the transit mall or staff that are answering the phones know that they have the most updated information on the county system or Petaluma. Have some confidence while answering questions and don't kind of have that trepidation and they don't want to give wrong information, so they're transferring them. We're trying to give them the information so that they can just help that person immediately. Next slide, please. So here's the information about the 1-seat ride. Prior to the pandemic, region-wide, the act of transferring a paratransit client between paratransit systems was normal. We would transfer, and so despite the fact that many of these transfers resulted in a lot of inter-agency staff time as well as long waits for clients. So for instance, in Santa Rosa, the transfer point was the YMCA and sometimes the SRJC. And so these clients would wait at that location until the other vehicle arrived and picked them up. Sometimes, on paratransit, there's even larger delays because you're dealing with people who are in wheelchairs. And so it just was clunky, and you end up with more complaints compared to the number of trips, which were not that many. I mean, we would do, I think prior to the pandemic, like 20 trips a month that way, nothing major, but we just had a lot of complaints. So when the pandemic hit and social distancing directives were put into place, City Bus and the county, Sonoma County, started working through what the logistics were for having paratransit clients just driven to their final destination. So effectively eliminating transfers. So now, as part of the increased coordination through the future of transit, the county and city paratransit operations have worked to continue this pilot of the one-seat ride. This is an issue other Bay Area agencies are trying to solve as well. And we are happy to report that our agencies have figured out a way that it's worked well so far. It effectively doesn't increase our workload of either the paratransit operation team, but it also improves the customer experience. So today, Santa Rosa paratransit riders are provided direct trips from within Santa Rosa to as far north as the airport, as far west as Sebastopol Road, as far east as Oakmont area, and as far south as Wilford Avenue, near the casino and to the south. So I'm going to hand it back off to Matt for the next slide, and he's going to talk about the further regional collaboration with MTC and next steps. Thank you.
So as I alluded to earlier, a lot of what we're working on locally is also a regional effort as well across the 27 agencies in the Bay Area. And one of those pieces of that collaboration and coordination is the regional wayfinding program, which is essentially used to create consistent user-focused material at major hubs throughout the Bay Area, as well as just some small stops in between the major hubs as well. The intent is to kind of rebrand how information is displayed in a way that if you're coming from, say, San Jose, and you come to the North Bay, to Sonoma County, and you're looking for transit information at a hub, you're looking at the same exact thing other than the very specific information on those pieces of material. So the map is always in the left-hand corner of the kiosk, and the schedules are always on the bottom right. It's that kind of thing as well. In Sonoma County, we're hoping to take that one step further between three agencies and having common graphic identity, not just with the region, but also within the county. So when people look at that, they can identify this is Sonoma County public transit, as opposed to, oh, that's City Bus, that's Sonoma County, that's Petaluma. And maybe getting confused where they know that it's just transit, and that's what people are looking for when they want to get from one place to another. So the intent is to work with MTC over the next few years. As you can see in the timeline, we're kind of in the beginning of the phase, and we're moving towards the 24-25 fiscal year is when hopefully things really start get going in this project. This is also an MTC funded effort in regards to the wayfinding. There will be some of the stuff that we need to support locally, but for the most part, in regards to how things will be laid out, all that is being done through MTC, and they're actually currently in the process of hiring on a consultant to go through this process to create the consistent look and feel throughout the Bay Area. You can go to the next slide, please. So the next steps, this is, the staff work. This is what we hope to achieve between the staff of the three agencies that are hoping to integrate. We actually meet weekly as staff to kind of go over the pieces that Yuri talked about earlier in that planning effort. And I think those meetings will become more engaging and more prevalent, even maybe weekly, as we get deeper into some of those major tasks. Moving to service planning, we plan to start sharing our data more. Regional service scenario planning will be part of that as we look at our services and how they work with each other. And then also defining our routes and their purposes and seeing if there are any cross purposes between the service that each agency is putting out there, and maybe that those things can be consolidated or improved for the public. We'll be moving into defining a consistent fare policy, and then integrating that fare policy into Clipper to further ease customer access to the transit systems. And then finally, as we go through this, messaging to the public will be critical. So we will be developing a community engagement strategy. How will we engage with Santa Rosa riders, Sonoma County riders, and how can we get maybe all those groups collaborating together at a single time to see, what is the public looking for and how we deliver service to the residents of Sonoma County. And then one of the things that's very near in the future is actually Santa Rosa will be working to update its website through the same vendor that Sonoma County and Petaluma Transit use. That hopefully that's the intent of that. And the intent is to create a similar look and feel across the three websites, and then hopefully down the line that easily integrate those maybe into a single website, or go the way that Go Triangle did in Yuri's example earlier, where there's 3 sites, but how you navigate them is exactly the same. Go to the next slide. So obviously, whenever anything's done, it takes money. So here's kind of the direction we're headed. Right now, we actually have $750,000 from MTC for planning and implementation. Most of that will go to the tasks that Yuri laid out. SCTA was able to secure this funding, and for us to have it is a huge boon to our ability to move this process forward. There is, we don't want to say that that's entirely what will make this process go forward. There's additional regional resources expected, mostly or specifically so with the regional wayfinding and how we display our information to the public out in the field. And then finally, the operators' operation and maintenance budgets. It's not that these will be new line items, but this will be activities that fit within the baseline budget that we already have in place. It's just me more so redefining how we're using resources in regards to planning, maybe not specifically for ourselves being Santa Rosa City Bus. I say that as City Bus planner, but also doing those planning efforts that we normally do alone, more collaboratively with our other operators in Sonoma County. Go to the next slide. I'll hand it off to Rachel.
I'm going to swoop in for the last slide after Yuri and Matt have done all the heavy lifting. Just to give you a preview of some of the upcoming council items we anticipate related to this effort. First of all, we will need to enter into a memorandum of understanding with MTC, SCTA, and the other transit operators, specifically around the MTC award of the $750,000. There's a detailed scope for how that money will be used. We all need to reach an understanding how we'll work through the process of delivering that scope and reflect it in MOU. We also want to come back to council to move the paratransit one-seat rides from a pandemic era pilot to a permanent part of our program for delivering paratransit services in Sonoma County. And finally, we have a little bit more work to do here, and there certainly will need to be some public engagement, but we need to come back hopefully sooner than rather than later with a proposal for fare harmonization among the 3 operators in some of the areas that Yuri pointed out earlier. There will be additional actions, of course, but those are some of the ones that are on the front burner at this time. Next slide, please. So with that, we'll wrap up, take any questions council may have, and certainly we'd love to have any overall feedback from the council on this initiative, as well as any priorities, anything you're curious about that you think is missing from this effort. And so I'll turn it back to the mayor at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to the team. And I know it's been an incredible amount of work to get to this point, particularly with a pandemic layered on top. But I do think we all agree that it's the right time, that as we have to make some changes, that we look at this and implement the TIES study. I'll turn it over to council members to see if they have any questions. Councilmember Fleming.
Yeah, on that note, can we have an acronym in here, the TIES. Can we get clarification on what that stands for?
Yes, TIES stands for the Transit Integration and Efficiency Study.
Excellent, thank you. And then on slide, I don't see my slides numbered here. But on the one where it says background operational scope and then it has the trips on top in green and below revenue hours, I'm just curious to know, is it considered beneficial to have a particular type of ratio here? Is there a way that you can help me analyze what I'm looking at?
Yeah, I would say it's going to be highly variable depending on the type of service. For example, in Sonoma County Transit, they're serving all areas of the county, including some very low density areas. So they're going to put out more revenue hours for those long intercity trips. Based on the density of the areas they're going through, they may not have the same ridership return as you might have in the heart of Santa Rosa, for example. So it's really highly dependent on the service area and the type of service being provided. So there's not necessarily an ideal to work for. Each of us does have service standards for productivity on our system that are specifically tailored to our service type and operating environment. So those are what we tend to measure our performance against on an individual basis.
Excellent, thank you. And I would just like to echo what the mayor said. This is really impressive and a whole lot of work, and is going to bring a better quality of service to our riders and hopefully a better value to the taxpayers and the fare payers. So thank you so much for all that you've done.
Any additional questions from council members? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment on the study session. If you're interested in providing comment, go ahead and hit the raise hand feature on Zoom. And I see no hands. Madam Deputy City Clerk, did we have any pre-recorded voicemails?
We did not.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council to see if there are any comments or direction for the team. I'll look on Zoom first with Councilmember Sawyer and Tibbetts.
Just thanks. It amazingly comprehensive, and like Councilmember Fleming said, it's all good. This is a win-win, and it's been a long time coming. I think there has been an intention to improve this system, and you have nailed it. And I believe there will be a lot of happy travelers in the future when this is instituted or implemented. Thank you.
Councilmember Sweatham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to echo my comments or compliments. This is exactly what we need, taking this regional approach, getting away from the silos. So I really appreciate this presentation, and I think this is what all of us are needing. You're starting to model those behaviors, so thank you so much.
And I will say it's particularly nice for me to be able to watch some of the MTC meetings now with our own commissioner from Santa Rosa on as well, representing Sonoma County, and hearing a lot of the conversations about where the group would like to see transit agencies go, and then be able to sit back and really see the work that Rachel and Brian and Jared and Matthew and so many others have been doing. I think it's positioned Sonoma County very well to be able to be a leader in that regard, as well as to potentially get funding for a number of these initiatives. So I just wanted to continue to say thank you on behalf of both the council and the ad hoc that's been looking at this. We're really impressed with the work that the agencies have been doing and the collaboration that's taking place. And Suzanne, I'll give it back to you to see if there's any last comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Suzanne Smith, I'm the Executive Director of Sonoma County Transportation Authority and the Regional Climate Protection Authority. Your comments just now about sort of the leadership that our transit operators have shown in this work is definitely acknowledged at the regional level and pointed to frequently. So I really want to commend the work of the general managers of our local bus systems for their openness to this collaborative approach. And it's a pleasure to work with them, and we look forward to advancing into phase 2 with the funding we've secured so far and delivering better and improved service for transit riders. Thank you for having us today.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and thank folks for the presentation. We'll move on with our meeting. We do have our next portion starts at 4 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and recess until that point.